gentlemen, welcome back to the show. Let's get my next guest right out there. He is a fabulous broadcaster. He's an acute political commentator, and I was shocked, as everyone was, I think, when I heard that he suffered a stroke, and then thrilled by his remarkable recovery. He's here to tell us all about that and what he's doing at the moment. It's Mr. Andrew Marr, ladies and gentlemen. You got this. I'll be all right. Okay, you got that. You've got that. I'm right here. Fantastic. Wow, incredible. Andrew Marr, ladies and gentlemen. Great to have you on the show. Thanks for coming. Come on over, Andrew. There down there. Great to have you on the show. Lovely to see you again.
Fantastic to be here, Jonathan.
I interviewed you a few years ago. You had a series out you were doing. It's one of your history series.
Yeah.
I seem to recall, which was great. And so that's why I was, like everyone else, when I heard you had a stroke, I couldn't believe it, because I'd always been so impressed by your fitness. You were clearly someone, I'm going to move this down here, just to put this to one side here. I was always impressed by your fitness. So how did it happen? Well, it was as a result of exercising,
It was a bit as a result of exercise. I've been working too hard for a year. I've been making the history of the world, which means huge amounts of flying around the world.
It's a big topic.
Really, really knackered, writing a book and all the rest of it. And then the thing that happened at the same time was that I used to run, as you say, about 25 miles every week. Wow. But I knackered my knees, so I had to stop. And as a result, I took up new kinds of exercise, including, lethally, a rowing machine. Keep away from rowing machines, everybody. Because the great thing about rowing machine is you can work your body as hard as you possibly can and nothing goes pop until my artery went pop. Wow. I was trying to hit a really, really hard target in terms of number of miles I was rowing a certain amount of time, and I hit the target. I thought, great. And the minute I'd hit the target, I thought, I've done something really, really stupid. And then went back, served out the family meal.
So hold it, so you'd felt that something had happened, but
yes.
You didn't know it was that serious at the time?
I had no idea what it was. I just felt this weird sense of that was really stupid, and I've done something silly, but I couldn't tell what it was. In fact, I'd torn my artery into the brain. I went back in to the house, served out the family meal, which I normally do, didn't feel hungry. I had a kind of kaleidoscopic headache and massive quantities of kind of multicoloured lights in front of my eyes, and then I went and watched a George Clooney film. Big mistake.
Hold it. Stay away from George Corden films, OK?
I've interviewed him and I was able to say to him that his film, The American, was responsible for my stroke. And apparently he's very, very fond of that film, and he didn't take it well. He's a lovely man. And then I woke up the next morning lying on the floor, unable to get up. Yeah. And I'd had a stroke in the night, yeah.
Wow. And that's the thing, you know, it's one of those things that I think we all know can happen, but of course you never think it's going to happen.
You never do. You always think strokes happen to older people. And actually, since I've had the stroke, I've been in lots of hospitals and clinics and so forth, surrounded by kids in their 20s, young people in their 30s, lots and lots of people, young mothers and so on, who've had strokes. It's quite common. We don't hear much about it.
But now, right now, you see, for someone who's been through, and I know it was a very major stroke, you know, you are remarkably active. I've seen you walking around town out there on your own. You came down those stairs with that. And obviously, it's you know, it's a challenge, but you're doing it. So you're pushing yourself back into it. But how bad was it? Was there a chance that you would have lost your life?
My family, I was out of it at the time. My family were told twice he's a goner. He's not going to make it. And then the third time, I think, they were told he will make it, but he's going to be a vegetable in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. Now, luckily, I hadn't heard those bits, but the family had to cope with that. The answer is I'd lost quite a big chunk of the old cauliflower, about that much probably at the back, which means that everything on the left-hand side didn't work. Arm, leg, lung, tongue, everything on the left-hand side was out. And actually, that was lucky. Had the stroke been on the other side, I'd have lost my memory, my speech, and so forth, which in our business would not have been a great thing.
Not a great thing, no.
No.
And yet you have speech back now. So have you? Is it coming back gradually? Will you get back to full 100% performance as before? Or?
I will never be 100% again, but I will be most of the way there. And it's one of those simple things. The more work you do, the more physiotherapy the more strength training you do, the better you'll be. But you have to do it every day, probably for years and years and years. And the one thing that I'm really passionate about and want to say is that I'm really lucky because I had enough money to pay for physiotherapy every day when I came out of hospital. I still do it almost every day. Most people can't afford that. And we're brilliant at in this country at saving people's lives from stroke. Fantastic, as good as anywhere. But once we save their lives, we're very, very bad at helping them get back to normal health and strength. So there's lots and lots of people all around the country who are in their 20s, their 30s and so on, and they're in a wheelchair or they can't walk and they can't work. And they're going to spend 50 or 60 years, dependent on the state, unable to pay taxes, unable to work and have a full life. And with a bit of physiotherapy, we could turn that around. And as a country, we have to give people physiotherapy after stroke.
So it would be actually, it would not just be the right thing to do, it would also make sense in terms of the impact on the economy. I guess spending a bit of money early on would actually repay it because they'd be back serving a useful function.
And I say to, actually, you want to get people back to work, you think people should be off their backsides, earning tax. Well, a lot of them are on their backsides in a wheelchair because they can't get off their backsides. Help them get off their backsides, earn some money, contribute to the economy. You know it makes sense.
There must be charities involved, though, that we could help out who are helping to fund that kind of physiotherapy.
The Stroke Association is a wonderful charity which I'm involved in called ARNI, A-R-N-I, which stands for Action on Rehabilitation for Neurological Injuries.
I think I'll stick with ARNI. That's easier for me to...
Yeah. And what that does is it trains people to help stroke survivors, usually with weight training, kettlebells and that kind of stuff. Quite tough stuff.
And you're doing that as well,
I am doing that as well, all around the country.
The thing as well which impressed me very much, and this is, I think, once again, something which we can all really learn from this, I think, which is that you focused on the creative side of yourself, really, not just your life, but you kind of found you re-engaged with a love that you'd had since childhood, didn't you?
I've always been a drawer. Ever since I was that high, I've drawn pictures. And when there wasn't paper, I used to get terrible trouble at home by drawing on the walls of the house. I'd move the furniture to one side, draw all over the wall, move it back again, and Mum would find it eventually.
You were like the first Banksy.
First Banksy, exactly. Precisely so. And I've done it all my life. I've painted. It's very difficult to paint without two hands. I'm one-handed effectively still at the moment, though that will change.
And that's because I guess you need the other hand to hold the paper.
To unscrew the tubes, to wash the brushes, all that kind of stuff. But I'm drawing a lot, and I'm getting a huge amount out of it.
So what do you think you get out of it? Because, I mean, I kind of know what you've been saying about this, but I'd love to hear you explain it, because it's more than just the idea of trying to create something, isn't it?
It is. It's quite difficult to explain, but the way I would explain it is that all of us, we get up in the mornings, brush our teeth, go to work, have a day, come back, go to sleep again. And it's very rarely in that day that you stop and think, how amazing to be alive, how fantastic to be here in this sunlit world, it's sometimes sunlit, at this moment in my life, to be able to do all these things and to appreciate the world around you. It's a bit like, and when you're drawing, you're thinking about nothing than what you're looking at. You're thinking, what a fantastic, beautiful scene or a face or whatever it might be, and you're out of yourself. And it allows you to just appreciate the extraordinary luck of being alive, and it's as simple as that.
And to be right in that moment, which is a hard thing for us to achieve.
Yeah.
Now, Andrew has a book that he's written out, and once again, it must have been hard for you because you couldn't type immediately after the stroke, I guess.
Yes, I did it all with a dictation machine.
So there's the book, which is a short book about drawing, and it tells the story about your journey back to health, but also the way you re-engage with this creative side of your life. And I found it just a thrilling...
It's kind of zen of drawing.
Really loved it. And we have, this is your sketchbook that you carry around with, is that right?
This is a good example. I mean, wherever I go, I've got a big coat, and in one pocket of the coat there'll be lots of pencils and pens, and another pocket, a little notebook, and I'll just draw what's around me.
These are fabulous. And are these after the stroke or before?
Those are after the stroke.
Wow, that's incredible.
That's just the last month.
Well, look at this. This is from where's that?
That's in the Tate Gallery, and that's Epstein's amazing statue of two angels embracing.
Right?
So instead of writing in words what's happened to me during the day, I just draw things that I've seen during the day.
And these are some you did quickly for us in the greenwood just now. There's a picture of Abbey, and I'm not sure, and that's Mary who came along with you today.
Mary who came with me in the background.
Okay. And here we've got John Newman and Uma. No, is this true? Uma helped you with your recuperation a bit as well?
Those of you who remember Kill Bill 1, there's a moment where Uma has had a rather rough time and she's waking up in hospital, and there's one toe which she's trying to make move. And if she can make the toe move, then all the recovery will follow, and she'll be chopping people's heads off at a great rate of knots. And it's a bit like that with me. I spend hours and hours and hours trying to make a finger move or a toe move, and not hours, not weeks, months, and then eventually get a little bit of movement. Wow. And I always thought of that film at the beginning. Yeah.
And did you go out and get yourself a yellow tracksuit with a black stripe down the side and
neither that nor a samurai sword, no.
Has anyone else ever said that movie, because you think of Kill Bill as a kind of...
It's not therapeutic, normally,
not a movie you would show to recovering stroke victims necessarily.
No, but a lot of women found it very therapeutic.
Yeah, I bet they did.
It made the world just a little more dangerous for the rest of us.
OK, Andrew, lovely to have you here. I'm so pleased you're so fully on the road to recovery.
Thanks, Jonathan. It's great to be here.
Andrew Marr, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. After the break, I'll be chatting with Thurman, and we'll have music from the fabulous John Newman.